This year marks the moment when the latest MotoGP concession rules are expected to drag Honda and Yamaha back to the front of the grid. Last season, it was still too early for the development privileges granted to the struggling Japanese manufacturers to yield any significant impact. So, based on what we witnessed at the Thailand Grand Prix last weekend, have these concessions worked? The answer is quite simply yes. Ducati may have once again dominated at Buriram, where last year their Desmosedici bikes locked out the top 8 spots in the sprint. But imagine how much further ahead the Bologna-based manufacturer could have been without these concession rules. Because the new regulations aren't just designed to accelerate Honda and Yamaha's development, they're also intended to rein in Ducati's relentless progress. And that's exactly what happened with Ducati's GP25 engine, which was rejected by Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia when they first tested it at the season-opening preseason test in Sepang last month. The rules prohibit Ducati from using their official MotoGP riders for testing beyond the one-day sessions held after 2 or 3 GPs, meaning Marquez and Bagnaia had no hand in the engine's development. Ducati's lead test rider, Michel Pirot, is renowned for his development skills. And with 19 top 10 MotoGP finishes to his name, his credentials are beyond question. But he didn't pick up on the engine braking issues. As a result, Ducati had to revert to their 2024 engine. This also underscores that motorcycle racing remains a deeply human sport. The GP25 engine underwent thousands of computer simulations and dyno tests to refine its corner entry and corner exit behavior. Pirot then tested it as much as the rules allowed. Ducati is permitted only about a third fewer test days than Honda and Yamaha. But the sheer speed and genius of Marquez and Bagnaia quickly revealed that the engine wasn't performing as it should when they blasted through the corners. Consequently, Honda and Yamaha appear closer to Ducati this year, not just because they've improved, but because Ducati has been held stagnant. But how exactly have the RC213V and YZR M1 progressed? So far, it seems Honda has made the bigger leap forward. Last year, Honda languished at the bottom of the Constructors' Championship for 3 consecutive seasons, with an average deficit of 29.9 seconds per race, over a second per lap on most tracks. Last Sunday in Buriram, LCR Honda rider Johan Zarco was the top finishing Honda, taking 7th place after nearly snatching 6th from Marco Bezzecchi. The Frenchman finished 15.2 seconds behind the winner, Marquez, with a gap of less than 0.6 seconds per lap. Honda could have done even better. Factory rider Joan Mir was a few tenths quicker than Zarco, outpacing Bezzecchi and finishing just 0.4 seconds behind Ogura. True, Mir has crashed out of many races this year, but last season, those crashes typically came while chasing points rather than fighting for a top 5 finish. Honda has improved the RC213V in nearly every area, particularly in electronics and aerodynamic downforce, boosting grip, an ever-critical factor in performance. Mir credits these upgrades for allowing him to push harder and ride the bike in his preferred style, braking aggressively, diving into corners with the brakes still on, and carrying high corner speed. He now feels a better connection with the tires, improved synergy with the engine, and a bike that corners and brakes more effectively. Yet there's still one glaring weakness for Honda: straight line speed. This is astonishing for anyone familiar with their MotoGP history. Since arriving in the premier class in the 1960s, Honda has always boasted some of the strongest engines in the championship. Not anymore. At Buriram, the RC213V was easily the slowest bike on the grid, clocking 7 km/h below the fastest bike. Ducati's top speed of 334.9 km/h. Good straight-line performance isn't just about shaving time on the straights. It also creates better overtaking opportunities. Overtaking is harder and more crucial than ever, as riders stuck behind others risk overheating their front tires. Honda's engine woes aren't limited to peak power. Torque delivery is also a problem, critical for avoiding wheel spin when accelerating out of corners. Mir doesn't know when Honda's next engine upgrade will arrive. This year, Honda and Yamaha are allowed 10 engines per rider with as many upgrades as they wish within that limit, while Ducati, KTM, and Aprilia get 8 engines with no upgrades permitted. Honda's lack of top speed may also be tied to the RC213V's massive aero downforce, which makes the bike look noticeably bulky. Mir's teammate Luca Marini is confident that Honda's recent improvements are just the beginning. What's impressive is that Honda has made such strides internally, rather than hiring a swarm of Italian MotoGP engineers, as KTM and Yamaha have done in recent years. Yes, HRC has a new MotoGP technical director, former Aprilia engineer Romano Albesiano, but it's still too early to see his influence on the RC213V. Meanwhile, Yamaha feels like a hybrid Japanese-Italian project, with a slew of ex-Ducati engineers in its garage, led by Max Bartolini and aero chief Marco Nicatra. Yamaha also has a substantial technical base in Italy, complete with dedicated aero and tire analysis departments, while Honda's engineers still hail from HRC's headquarters in Osaka. Yamaha has taken a step forward, but not enough to match the excitement of the opening pre-season test in Sepang, where Fabio Quartararo finished just 0.2 seconds off the top spot. That performance was a mirage, flattered by a flowing, slippery track that suited both the Frenchman and his M1. As Pramac Yamaha rider Miguel Oliveira put it, in pre-season testing there's a lot of dreaming. By the first race, reality sets in. Reality at Buriram for Yamaha was Quartararo's 7th place in the sprint, sandwiched between KTM's Pedro Acosta and Brad Binder, and Jack Miller's 11th in the Grand Prix. The former Honda, Ducati, and KTM rider heroically battled to the finish with a fairing nearly torn off. Quartararo's sprint time showed Yamaha has improved for 2025. Though not by much, he finished 1.046 seconds closer to the winner than he did in Thailand last October. Miller's pace over the weekend surprised many. The Australian outqualified Quartararo, starting just 0.1 seconds off the front row. Quartararo's best sprint lap was 0.015 seconds quicker than Miller's, but on Sunday, Miller's best lap beat Quartararo's by 0.564 seconds. Quartararo is thrilled to finally have another lightning-fast rider on the M1 after nearly 4 years. A benefit of Yamaha digging deep to field 4 bikes on the grid again. Miller cheerfully admits he's had to get creative, especially in qualifying, where the only way to sniff the front was to ride beyond the bike's limits. Crucially, Miller is delighted to be free of the crippling chatter that ruined his 2024 season on KTM's RC16, which still doesn't gel with Michelin's latest rear tire. Miller was ahead of his fellow M1 riders and chasing 5th-placed Frankie Morbidelli when he crashed in the sprint, pushing harder than his front tire could handle as it lost grip under excessive pressure. It's clear he enjoys Yamaha's inline 4, and so far he's been more competitive than he was last year on KTM's V4 RC16. If Yamaha's performance at Buriram, especially Quartararo's, seemed worse than expected after Sepang, there's a good reason. Thailand's track and weather form a brutal combination, particularly for tires, so Michelin supplied special front and rear tires for the event. Quartararo, known for his super late braking, had to use Michelin's hardest front tire, featuring a heat-resistant casing. It's stiff enough to handle heavy braking loads, but lacks the flexibility to grip at high lean angles, essential for cornering. While the fastest riders opted for the softer front tire for its cornering advantage, that wasn't an option for Yamaha's top riders, all of whom ran the hard front tire, even in the GP, while the top 7 finishers used the soft compound. On lap 1, the 2021 world champion dropped from 10th to 18th, then clawed his way to 15th for the final point. Miller's ride to 11th, holding his fairing with his left hand, was nothing short of heroic. So, has the M1 truly improved for 2025? Quartararo says the 2025 engine has more power than the 2024 version, and it's not a major issue. But it still needs significant gains, as even with less aero downforce than rivals, he feels slow on the straights. Thus, the M1 struggles with a balance between engine power and downforce. Aerodynamic downforce essentially trades horsepower and thrust for grip. So with the inline-4 M1 producing less power than its V4 rivals, Yamaha's engineers can't generate as much downforce as they'd like. It's a losing equation. Less power means less grip. At Buriram, Yamaha clocked an average top speed of 330.6 kilometers per hour in the main race, well ahead of Aprilia's RSGP and Honda's RC213V. Quartararo hopes to test another engine upgrade at the post-Spanish GP test next month. For now, Yamaha riders can only hope that moving away from the stiff front chassis, which may not return this season, will change things significantly. Even so, there's no doubt the current M1 has little left to give, which is why Yamaha is hard at work preparing its new V4.